Now we come to the portion of our meeting which are prepared speeches. Our individuals have taken the time and the assignments perhaps that they've taken on to give us a prepared speech and to advance their education. This morning, our first prepared speech of the day is going to be by Don Welton. Don joined Toastmasters in March of this year. He said he's really enjoyed his first 9 months as a Toastmaster. He will be completing Project 8 in the Confident Communication Manual. Get comfortable with visual aids. His speech is supposed to be, or last, for 6 to 8 minutes, and the title is Serendipity, when you stumble into something good. Help me welcome Don Welton.
Serendipity. Serendipity is when you stumble into something good. You weren't looking for it. It's almost as if it found you. I also think of it as a wonderful surprise. We could have used it as the word of the day. It all turned out. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. I had a serendipitous moment at RCC about 2.5 years ago. I'd just gone back to school after, well, a long time. Let's just call it a long time. Decades, we'll say decades. I'd gone back to school after my first semester at RCC. I was taking a few classes. I had my major chosen. It's all picked out. I'm ready to go. My transcript showed up from my other schools. And my guidance counselor, my advisor, she called me over, said, you need to come talk with me. I went in to speak with her. She said, one of your schools wasn't accredited when you were there. They are now, but not when you were there, so you don't get any of those classes. But she said, I did notice that you were in the Air Force. Have you gone and talked to the VA people yet on campus? I said, no, I haven't. I mean, I wasn't in Desert Storm. I wasn't in Afghanistan. I was in 100 years ago. I'm thankful for all the programs they have for these, young men and women coming out, but, I'm kind of past that stage. And she goes, well, they may be able to help you get your classes. It's tough to get classes at RCC when you're a new student. So I went over to talk to them. I filled out a crazy amount of forms. To me, it seemed like. But I dotted the I's, I crossed the T's, I turned it in. Lo and behold, I get this wonderful surprise call from them. They say, wow, guess what? We're so glad we found you. And I said, really? And talked to my mom about it. They call me in. I'm talking to them. They say, you qualify for this program. We never find anybody that qualifies for it. It's a 1-year deal. And we've got all kind of programs for people, coming home from Afghanistan and Iraq and just, veterans that are just now retiring. But we just never have somebody that qualifies. There's an age requirement on this one. You need to be between 50 and 60. And I made that. and there was a few other steps, and you just happen to line up. And so we're going to be able to pay you for 1 year. $1,541 a month tax-free. Wow. I said, that's more than they paid me when I was served in the Air Force. They should have told me this years ago. I would have went to school first. But they were able to do this for me, and it was pretty neat and exciting. They said the only bad part is you have to change your major. Your major is not one of the approved majors that they allow for that. They said, well, it looks like you have a lot of general ed requirements, that you need to take anyway. So the first year, that's mostly what you take. Just take one class in that new major, and then a year from now, switch back, and we'll pay you over $18,000 in between. And so I said, well, I can do that. So I said, what's the list of, things I can choose from? And one of the classes I was taking right then was Photoshop, and I saw on the list photography. And I thought, I've never been into photography before, but it sounds like maybe it'd be fun. So I said, well, I'll become a photography major. And that was my serendipitous moment. I thought I would take one class with photography. I fell in love. Kathy, I love you still too. But I fell in love with photography. I took every class that RCC offers in photography. I graduated my major with a major of photography. I got a 4.0 GPA with them. I loved it. I ate it up. It was fun. They did so many good things for me when I was there. I'm just so thankful. We got to take a lot of pictures. And I'm not really a portrait person, but I just was going to work through a few of the things I've taken since I've been in that class, and there's just a couple of my fellow students, this fellow photographers, and just a couple shots of them for portraits. I don't do portraits, I don't do weddings, but we had to for class do a few different things. What I really do like, most people paint this a little bit more boring, but what I really do like to shoot is architecture. Now I'm going to blame it on my dad. My dad was an architect. He designed a lot of hospitals and buildings and that type of thing, schools. And these are, I don't know if any of you have ever been to the Getty in Los Angeles. This is just, I thought I'd bring one black and white, one color of a shot that I took at the Getty. But these, this is a couple shots from the Getty Museum. RCC's blessed me in so many ways. They enabled me to get in this contest, something called Skills USA. It's a contest where there's 100 different categories, but one of them is photography. You can compete in it twice in your life, 2 different years. And in the beginning, across America, about 20,000 people begin in this contest. And first you have to win at your local school, then you go to your region. In California, there's 6 regions. Then if you win at the region, you go to the state and compete there. And then if you win at the state, you get to go to nationals. And I was fortunate enough, lucky enough, whatever, to win California the 2 years that I competed in the gold medal at California. I didn't win a medal at nationals, but I did get a chance to go compete in nationals. In 2014, I got 7th in the nation. In 2015, I got 4th. And it's just wonderful. RCC paid my whole way. They flew me around the country. They put me up 4 weeks in hotels for these 2 contests. So I just did a collage of some of the buildings at RCC, and this is just some shots that I put together from the quad. I don't know if any of you have been to RCC, but there's an older building. I like older buildings. Older buildings are really tall, modern skyscrapers are my favorites. And this is just a collage I put together of some buildings from RCC. My philosophy on shooting and photography, and this is one of the reasons why I don't really do portraits and weddings and that kind of thing, because I don't do journalism at all. I just don't like it. I want to make it the way I want to make it. I want to set up the shot. I want to doctor up the shot, and that's kind of introduce this shot. This is the rotunda at the Mission Inn, and it's really 4 stories, tall. But in my version, it goes down 12 stories. So I just doctored it up a little bit to change it. I remember when I first showed this, I put it on Facebook, and in the photo club, and I mentioned, I said, did anybody see that the Mission Inn uncovered the bottom 8 floors? Really? Like, no, not really. Paris is in the news all at once. Unfortunately, it's been such a tragic week, and I've never been to Paris. I've never shot the Eiffel Tower, but I have been to Vegas. And I shot the
That really looks like the Eiffel Tower.
So occasionally what happens in Vegas comes home with us.
That really looks high. That's a good photo right there.
My version of photography is that I generally shoot is HDR photography. Jack does that too, and that stands for high dynamic range. And basically what it's talking about is our eyes, it's how much of compared to white to black, from bright to dark can we take in? God did good on our eyes. We can take in such a huge range of lights to dark. But cameras can take, if our eyes can do this much, our cameras can do maybe this much. And so that's why we take a picture and we look at it later on, didn't look like what I looked like when I was taking it. What's wrong with this dumb camera? And the HDR, what you're doing is you take a series of shots without moving the camera, so it's best to have it on a tripod, and you have it set at different exposures, so you're capturing all the light with one snap, and you're capturing all the black with another snap, and then you merge them all together, and that's what all these except the portraits are HDR photography. But this was, we drove up the coast this summer, and this was just one of the places we stopped with San something or other. It's where the Hearst Castle's at. San Simeon. And this is the San Simeon Pier. Just a little, the sun was setting, so I took a shot real quick. And then when we got into San Francisco, where we stayed, there was a little harbor there, and so I took a couple shots of some boats in the harbor, and the time's going really, really fast. There's this cool building I'd never heard of before, but it's called the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, and I just stumbled onto it, and so I took about 200 pictures real quick. Golden Gate Bridge. Here's 3 road trips over Golden Gate Bridge. All right, that's 2 of them. 1 more. Ta-da! Last night the speech was 15 minutes when I finally timed it. I had to cut it back real fast, but anyway, serendipity. Be on the lookout for it, because sometimes it surprises you with something wonderful. And,